Zyair used to think success sounded loud. He thought it was the roar of a sports car engine outside a crowded club in Miami. He thought it was designer chains shining under restaurant lights in Los Angeles. He thought it was people staring when you walked into a room. He thought it was expensive watches, penthouse views, and followers climbing by the thousands every week. That's what everybody around him chased. Noise. Attention. Proof. And for a while, he chased it harder than anyone. At 26, Zyair lived in Atlanta in a luxury apartment with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city skyline. Every morning he woke up beside his phone before he even opened his eyes. Notifications flooded his screen. Messages. Missed calls. Brand deals. Fake friends inviting him out. Women reacting to his stories. Business partners demanding updates. From the outside, he looked like somebody who had already won. But every night, after the music stopped and everybody left, silence hit him like a truck. Because peace was missing. And nobody talks about that part. Nobody tells you how exhausting it is pretending your life feels better than it actually does. Nobody tells you success can become another prison. Nobody tells you you can have money and still feel emotionally homeless. One night Zyair stood alone in his apartment kitchen at 2:13 a.m. staring at the microwave clock while eating cold takeout straight from the container. The city lights reflected through the windows behind him, but the apartment felt empty enough to echo. His chest felt tight again. That feeling had become normal. He kept telling himself it was stress. Just work harder. Just level up. Just make more. That's what social media taught him. But deep down, he knew the truth. He wasn't tired from work. He was tired from carrying a version of himself that wasn't real anymore. The next morning he posted a smiling picture on Instagram from a rooftop brunch. Hundreds of comments. Bro, living the dream. You made it. Motivation. He looked at the screen for a long time before locking the phone and whispering to himself, if this is the dream, why do I feel miserable? That question followed him everywhere after that. At the gym. In traffic. During business meetings. At parties filled with loud people and fake laughter. Especially at parties. Because that's where he noticed something strange. The people who bragged the most looked the emptiest when nobody was watching. Guys screaming about money while secretly drowning in debt. People flexing relationships while cheating and crying every week. Friends pretending to be loyal while competing against each other silently. Everybody performing. Nobody resting. One Friday night Zyair went to a mansion party in the Hollywood Hills while visiting Los Angeles for work. Music shook the walls. Bottles covered the tables. Cameras flashed every few seconds. But then he saw something he couldn't stop thinking about. A famous influencer sat alone on the balcony while everyone inside danced. The man had millions of followers. Luxury brands paid him insane money. People online worshipped him. But his eyes looked dead. Zyair sat beside him quietly. After a minute, the influencer laughed under his breath and said, "Crazy how many people want to live like this." Zyair nodded slowly. The man took a sip from his drink and stared at the city lights. "I haven't slept peacefully in 3 years." That sentence hit harder than any motivational quote Zyair had ever heard. Because it was honest. Raw. No performance. No filters. That night Zyair drove through Los Angeles alone with the radio off. And for the first time in years, he allowed himself to think honestly. Not socially acceptable thoughts. Not motivational speaker thoughts. Real thoughts. He realized most people weren't chasing happiness. They were chasing validation. There's a difference. Validation says, "Look at me." Peace says, "I don't need you to." Validation is loud. Peace is quiet. Validation needs an audience. Peace survives in solitude. That realization changed something inside him. Not instantly. But slowly. Like sunrise creeping through darkness. Zyair started changing quietly. Not dramatically. Quietly. He stopped going out every weekend. Stopped arguing online. Stopped trying to respond to everybody immediately. Stopped posting every move. At first, people noticed. Bro disappeared. You good? You acting different. That's what happens when you stop entertaining chaos. People who benefited from your confusion start feeling uncomfortable. One friend called him and laughed. You turning boring now? Zyair smiled to himself before answering calmly. Nah. Just protecting my peace. The line went silent for a second. Because people understand drama more than healing. The strange thing about growth is this, it often looks boring to broken people. Suddenly Zyair had more quiet nights. More walks without headphones. More mornings without anxiety. More moments where he could actually hear his own thoughts again. And slowly, his life improved in ways money never fixed. He started sleeping better. Started breathing deeper. Started feeling emotionally lighter. Not every day. But enough to notice. One afternoon he sat at a cafe in downtown Atlanta watching people rush past the windows. Everybody looked urgent. Everybody looked stressed. Everybody looked like they were running towards something. And he wondered how many of them even knew why anymore. America teaches people to grind endlessly. More money, more status. More hustle. More proof. But nobody teaches people how to rest emotionally. Nobody teaches people how to sit still without feeling guilty. Nobody teaches people how to be okay without applause. That's why peace became Zyair's biggest flex. Not because life became perfect. But because chaos stopped controlling him. Months passed. His business still grew. Money still came. But now he moved differently. He stopped needing everybody to see everything. Because secure people don't perform constantly. Insecure people do. One night he met an old friend named Marcus at a restaurant in Chicago during a business trip. Marcus looked exhausted. Dark circles under his eyes. Jaw tight with stress. Phone buzzing every 30 seconds. During dinner Marcus kept talking about competition, money, enemies, and pressure. Finally he leaned back and sighed. Man, I'm trying to get where you at. Zyair looked at him carefully. Because the old version of himself would have smiled proudly at that statement. But now it made him sad. Trust me, Zyair said quietly. You don't want to become who I used to be. Marcus frowned. What you mean? Zyair stared out the restaurant window before answering. I had everything I thought I wanted. And I still hated waking up. Silence sat between them. Real silence. Not awkward silence. Truthful silence. Then Zyair said something Marcus never forgot. The biggest flex isn't money anymore. It's peace. Sleeping good. Thinking clearly. Having real people around you. Being able to sit alone without falling apart. Marcus looked down at the table slowly, because deep down, he knew it was true too. Most people today are overstimulated and emotionally empty at the same time. Always connected. Never present. Always reacting. Never grounded. That's why peace feels rare now. And rare things become valuable. Zyair began protecting his peace aggressively. Not violently. Intentionally. He stopped answering energy that drained him. Stopped revisiting conversations that only created stress. Stopped trying to save people committed to dysfunction. That part hurt the most. Because sometimes healing requires distance from people you love, not because you hate them. But because constant chaos eventually spreads. A year later Zyair barely resembled the person he used to be. Not physically. Energetically. He laughed more genuinely. Moved slower. Spoke calmer. His mind no longer raced constantly. And something surprising happened. People started respecting him more. Not because he became louder. Because he became grounded. There's power in calmness. A person who controls their emotions in a world addicted to reactions becomes dangerous in the best way. Because peace is discipline. Anybody can scream. Anybody can crash out. Anybody can seek revenge. But staying centered when life tests you, that takes strength. Real strength. One afternoon Zyair walked through a park in Seattle while rain lightly tapped against his jacket. A younger guy recognized him and approached nervously. "Yo, man. Any advice for becoming successful?" Years ago Zyair would have answered differently. He would have talked about grinding harder. Networking. Sacrifice. Money. But now he smiled softly and said, "Don't build a life that looks good but feels terrible." The young man looked confused at first. So Zyair continued walking slowly beside him. Learn how to protect your mind early. Learn who deserves access to your energy. Learn how to enjoy simple things before the world convinces you everything needs to be extreme. The young man nodded quietly. Then Zyair said the sentence that summarized his entire journey. The biggest flex is waking up peaceful. Not rich. Not famous. Not envied. Peaceful. Because a peaceful mind enjoys things money can't buy. Simple mornings. Deep sleep. Honest love. Silence without anxiety. Moments that don't need posting. And the older Zyair became, the more he realized something else. Most people never experience peace because they're addicted to noise. They fear silence because silence reveals truth. Truth about unhappiness. Truth about loneliness. Truth about exhaustion. So they keep distracting themselves. More scrolling. More drama. More attention. More consumption. Anything except sitting alone with themselves honestly. But healing starts there. In honesty. Late one night Zyair stood on his apartment balcony watching Atlanta glow beneath the dark sky. Cars moved like rivers of light through the streets below. Somewhere out there people were still chasing validation the same way he once did. Still exhausting themselves trying to appear important. Still sacrificing peace for perception. And suddenly he felt grateful. Not for money. Not for status. For clarity. Because clarity saved his life. The realization that inner peace matters more than external applause changed everything. He finally understood something most people learn too late: you can win publicly and lose privately. And private losses destroy public victories eventually, so he chose differently now. He chose rest. He chose boundaries. He chose authenticity. He chose peace. Even if people misunderstood him for it. Especially then. Because mature people stop needing universal approval. One Sunday morning he drove out of the city alone. No destination. Just open road. The sky stretched endlessly over the highway while soft music played through the speakers. For the first time in years, his mind wasn't fighting itself. No pressure. No panic. No performance. Just presence. And while sunlight spilled across the dashboard, Zyair smiled quietly to himself. Not because life became perfect. But because his soul no longer felt at war. That's the part nobody posts. The real victory. Not the car. Not the watch. Not the attention. The calm. The ability to breathe deeply again. The ability to sleep without your thoughts attacking you. The ability to walk away from chaos without explaining yourself. The ability to enjoy life without needing strangers to validate it. That's power. That's freedom. That's the biggest flex. And maybe the reason this matters so much is because modern life constantly pressures people to become louder versions of themselves. But peace requires the opposite. Less ego. Less proving. Less comparison. Less performance. Peace asks, who are you when nobody's watching? Can you sit alone in a quiet room and still feel enough? Can you disconnect without panicking? Can you live without turning your entire existence into content? Most people can't. That's why peace became rare. And rare things become priceless. Years later, people still ask Zyair the same question. How'd you become so calm? He usually smiled before answering. I got tired of losing myself trying to impress people. Because eventually you realize something important, the crowd changes every year. People forget quickly. Validation expires. Trends die. Attention fades. But your mind, you live with that every single day. So protect it. Protect your energy. Protect your peace. Not everybody deserves access to you. Not every argument deserves your response. Not every opportunity deserves your mental health. Not every relationship deserves another chance. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is walk away quietly. No revenge. No speech. No drama. Just distance. And healing. That's what Zyair finally learned. Peace is not weakness. Peace is not laziness. Peace is not giving up. Peace is mastery. Mastery over ego. Mastery over impulses. Mastery over chaos. And in a world addicted to noise, calmness becomes revolutionary. So if you're exhausted right now, if your mind feels heavy, if you've been trying so hard to prove yourself, maybe this is your sign to stop chasing every loud thing the world told you mattered. Because some people have expensive lifestyles and miserable minds. Some people have followers and no real friends. Some people look successful online while secretly breaking apart every night. Don't envy appearances too quickly. You never know the price somebody paid emotionally. Instead, build a life that feels good internally. A life where your nervous system can finally rest. A life where your happiness doesn't depend on attention. A life where silence no longer scares you. Because at the end of the day, peace isn't boring. Peace is luxury. Real luxury. And once you experience genuine inner peace, you stop craving things that once controlled you. That's when you finally become free. That's when you finally become dangerous in the best way. That's when you finally understand, the biggest flex was never showing the world you made it. The biggest flex was making it home to yourself. Protect your peace like it's priceless, because it is. The world will constantly tempt you to trade your calmness for attention, validation, money, ego, or temporary excitement. Don't fall for it. A peaceful mind is rarer than luxury now. And once you finally experience real inner peace, you'll realize something powerful: nothing feels better than becoming emotionally free.